Steel and Flame, Book 1 of the Guilds of Avlaan series is available on Amazon. If you like fluffy wolf-lolly protagonists and Japanese light novels, follow the link below to check it out. Hello, Leonardo Cornejo here with another video. Today I wanted to make a reflection I had. I was reflecting on something that is that there is a bunch of cultural nobodies, cultural parasites. People who is not precisely relevant in pop culture but try to claim pop culture for themselves. You see them among comic book pros, among voice actors. In fact, this idea came from the incident with the voice actor for Bayonetta, who was rejected for refusing to work under the conditions she was offered, and the role was given to someone else. She was replaced because of that, and she started to throw a fit basically. Turns out she was lying. She called for a boycott and all that stuff. Wait a second. And that's where it gets ugly, you could say. She started to cause trouble unreasonably, and that's when I realized this isn't the first time we have a voice actor or one of these comic book pros or someone who is not really well known internationally, and that's important. That's an important part, being internationally recognized. Who is not recognized internationally, who is not precisely the best person, the most respectable person, acting as if that person owns the media they are trying to influence. I realized these people are cultural parasites. They get involved in whatever media they are, and even though they are not really that important, they are trying to influence it. The reason this woman was replaced is because basically they didn't need her. That's a reality. Voice actors, specifically English dub voice actors, don't realize they are not really the most important ones because they are working for the dub, for the translation. They are not working for the original Japanese. In the case of anime, manga, no manga, forget it. I had a slip in the mind. Video games. I mean, Japanese media has their own Japanese voice actors, and they hire English dub actors who are not that important. Another example is this bunch of idiots in Funimation who are constantly altering content for the sake of controlling it. For example, the controversy with Dragon Maid and stuff like that. They add lines, they add things that are not there, and they are not really important people. I mean, the only English dub actor I knew of before the controversies was Big Mignona. The one they hated the most, by the way, was the only one I knew of, and that's because I knew he dubbed Eduardo Elric in Full Metal Alchemist. In terms of international influence, and that's an important part of this, these people are nobodies. They are not really that important. And even within the fields they work at, they are not precisely that recognized. Another example is comic book pros. Most of them, I don't know their names. I didn't know them. I don't know what they worked at until later on. For example, this woman Colleen Doran, who I bumped heads with, and I didn't know who she was. All I know is she's a fucking idiot. I didn't know who she was until I found out she was an illustrator. She worked as an illustrator for a few comics. I didn't know her. Her name was not internationally recognized. Another example are these guys, Mark Brooks, Don Cates. I forgot the name of the other examples I was going to bring up. Not, for example, this this woman who made that horrible I'm Not a Starfire self-insert comic. These people, they are nobodies. I didn't hear of them until I saw their controversies. Some of them I actually forgot their names because of how irrelevant they are. I don't remember the name of the one I was looking for in my memory. I know it's a woman. That's all I can tell. And she's one of these comic book pros. But all these comic book pros, you don't hear of them here in Mexico. You don't hear of them. They don't mention them. They are not as relevant as, for example, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Stan Lee. These people, they are not nobodies. Was it Ditko? Was it Steve? Or I mixed the names up? I hope I didn't. I didn't. But I sometimes I mix names. The thing is, the real creators, they are relevant. But these people, these comic book pros, they are nobodies, and they are like, oh, we are in charge, we are in control. These comics are ours now, and I'm like, you're a fucking nobody. Seriously. And even people who didn't create the original works, the characters, but who are talented, like for example, was it oh fucking shit, I forgot his name. No, I forgot his name and I was going to mention him. Oh, I'm trying to remember. He worked in Batman. He worked with Batman and was really relevant. But I forgot his name. If I remember him, I will name him. But for example, other creators like Alan Moore, like Todd McFarlane, they are relevant. They are well known, even if they are modern. They, of course, they have their own works, but I mean they are relatively recent. They are not of the old guard, and they are relevant. And I swear I'm trying to remember the name of this author. I think he's the one who wrote Dark Knight. What was his name? And I had it in my memory right before starting to record, but I didn't write it. I didn't write it. I didn't expect to forget his name. It was Alan Moore. Oh fucking shit! I can't remember. Well, whatever. Mm, Whatever. What matters is you know what I'm talking about. I mean, he's the one who wrote the Dark Knight, if I remember well. So we are talking of something someone important. I forgot his name. My memory fucked up. The thing is, you don't hear the name of people like Don Cates, like oh, Frank Miller. Frank Miller. It was Frank Miller. Yeah, I think it was Miller. You hear his name here in Mexico. I forgot it, but my friends, for example, I have this friend who's a comic book fan, and he was like, "Oh no way! You can say any other writer is wrote a better Batman than Miller." And I'm like, I don't know. I am not a Batman expert. I just like Batman. But he's like, "No, Miller is the best." You don't hear that about Don Cates. You don't hear that about Mark Brooks. You don't hear that this woman who wrote, as I said, I'm Not the Starfire. You don't hear people in Mexico, overseas, worldwide, outside of the US, talking about them. They are not relevant. They don't really have enough influence in the stories they work that to become to get remembered. As I said, Miller didn't create Batman, but he created one of the most well remembered versions of Batman. These people can't achieve that. They don't. I think was it Brooks who worked in Captain America, and I didn't know. I didn't know until I actually argued with him because he was harassing someone I care for. Not like in that sense, but someone I admire, someone I consider as one of my role models. he was harassing this person, and I decided to check him out to see who the fuck is this guy. And he worked in Captain America, and I didn't know, and I still don't really know what what Don Cates does. These people, they are nobodies. They are cultural. They are to be honest, they are diversity hires. They are hired because of their ideology. They are chosen among a pool of activists, but they are basically nobodies. They are ghosts. You don't hear of them. They are not named, and that's something important. Overseas, maybe over there in America, they are named constantly because they are famous. They go to the San Diego Comic Con and all that shit. But here in Mexico, you don't hear of them. You don't hear of them when people talk about comics. You don't hear of them when people make documentaries about comics. That's a difference. I heard of Miller because of documentaries about comics, because I don't really read comics. I like the characters, but I watch them in the animated versions. That's a fact. I heard of them in documentaries, and they are relevant. These people, they are not, and it is not about them being. It's not about them not being the original creators. As I said, Miller is an example of someone who did not create Batman, but worked in Batman and was successful. There are other examples. For example, Lauren Faust, who did not create My Little Pony, but got really famous with that show. Another example of someone who is, and the other thing is, it's not because they are woke or they are leftists. For example, someone who is woke, has fucking woke, and I don't like him, but he's really successful. It's George R. R. Martin. Another example would be J.K. Rowling. They are ideological opponents of mine, but they are extremely successful. Then why people like these guys, like Keton Cates, like Mark Brooks, why are they so irrelevant overseas? I mean, we are talking about these people who are internationally recognized, and it is not about their politics, and it is not about them being the original creators of something. And here is the important part of all this: all these people who are relevant, they don't want to claim things of others. They don't expect other people to change things. They are not like, oh, anime and manga must change, or oh, this thing must change, or you must grow up, or the fandom. No, they are focused on the thing they worked at, on the thing they are doing or did, and they are not trying to change what others do. They are not trying to alter what others do. Even if they are basically given an IP that was not their own, they are not talking about changing your work or someone else's work. They focus on their own work, and that's it. I mean, Rowling, you won't hear her talking about other writers changing their work. You won't hear Martin of doing that. You won't hear Miller of people should change what they do. That's the important part. These other people are telling you what to do with your work if you're a creator. These cultural nobodies, these cultural parasites, and they even change it if they get their hands on them, like everyone at Funimation currently does. Why? Because they are parasites, exactly. Because they do not create something worthy of respect. They do not create something of relevance. And when they can't create something of their own, they need to demand their competition, to lower your standards to theirs so that their product gets more attention. Don't listen to them. They are worthless. They are not important. They were given a checkmark. They have plenty of followers, but they don't really get relevant outside of their country. If I ask my friends from other Latin American countries if they know who Mark Brooks is, they don't know. But if I ask them who Miller is, they know. If I ask them This guy, I forgot his name, Stan Lee. I forgot Stanley's name for a second. Oh god, oh god. If I ask who is Stan Lee, it was the guy who created Spider-Man. I know there is a controversy there, but let's not forget he was iconic for Spider-Man. So the thing is, these other authors, these other people, these other how do I say it? These other activists who are of lesser quality, who are constantly asking others to change. For example, Colin Doran, my encounter with them with her was because this fucking idiot bitch was saying that the most of manga is boys love, which is not true. That really pissed me off because she said most of manga was a high school boys falling in love with other high school boys. It is not true. As far as I know, most manga is actually action manga. She basically said most manga was boys love, and I didn't know who she was, and I was like, "You clearly don't read manga," and that pisses off several of her fans apparently. And there was this idiot who said, "Don't you know who she is?" And I don't know. I don't fucking know because she's a nobody. Because outside of the United States, these people are irrelevant, and they are the ones who demand changes the most. That's the important part. These people who demand you to change your work, other people to change their work, not focusing on their own. These people don't focus on what they create. They are cultural parasites. They don't have anything worth of respect, anything they can claim of their own. For example, Colleen Doran, she worked as an illustrator, as I said, and she wrote a few books which were really bad about how to draw in manga style, and they are bad. Her technique is bad. It's not really. It's a cheap imitation of a manga style. These people, they are not worth anything. The reason they want you to change your art is because they want you to bring you down to their level. Don't follow their advice. Well, that's it for today, partly because the cat is getting bored. And see you next.